Welcome to the Inner Flame podcast where stardust meets the body. I am in my new feng shuied office. I signed up for my friend Amanda's Cancer season feng shui. I don't want to say it's a workshop container within her membership, and I kind of had been feeling like I needed, I don't know, I just felt like something inside of me was like, hey, yeah, do this. And it was really fascinating, the things that I learned. And my office, this is actually how I started. When I started my business, my desk was like, my back was to this wall, which is actually a power position for me. Because I can see both doors. I'm also a caves environment, so it makes me feel safe. There's nothing that's going to like jump out at me behind me that I might not be aware of. So this is the first time where I'm like, okay, yes. I mean, even shifting the energy, it was like the whole room shifted. Like we walked through the room much more easily. But anyway, I'm really excited. I just had to share. And my friend Amanda is the gal who I do the Asteroid Times Goddess series, and we do that monthly. And she also has her own membership called The Collective. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to check her out. Okay, so let's take a look at the week. We are in July, or not July, we're not there yet. Hold your horses, Jen. We are looking at June 29th through July 5th. So we're looking at this week's energies. And I've got to say, last week was a bit of a doozy, but I also feel like it's merging into this week, which might also be a bit of a doozy. It feels like there's a big wake-up call, kind of like a slap in the face. It's almost like the 3-time hit where it's like, you completely come to your senses what is not working. And what's really, really interesting is I am working on my own membership, and I am just finishing up with Kali, and I'm finishing the last of her containers. But this feels like very Kali energy. It's like the slap in the face of like really being clear on what isn't working, and really reflecting to see, okay, what are the steps that I need to be able to move forward. So I'm going to take a sip here. We start with the week. And this is saying lost land. So it's like soul memories and gifts, and you've done this before. And what's really interesting though too is what I get is that yes, we've done this before. But I almost feel like there's a merging of past lives and present lives, possibly even future lives, kind of all colliding together. And this does not necessarily feel like something you might even be aware of. It feels very subliminal. It feels like behind the scenes. And you might get flashes, like absolutely, you might get flashes of like, oh, this is a past life, or this is something from my future. But it's like, I almost want to say there's like a resiliency, right? There almost seems like, how do I want to say this? It's almost like patterns and cycles that we've gone through, maybe in the past, maybe even in the future. And it's really being able to see where we've grown. Okay, so we've got the soul memories and gifts. You've done this before. I just get the word resiliency, it's like really being able to see like you haven't given up. Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me. Jonesy's licking her paw. I don't know if she's not behind me because she can't get behind me. Are you trying to get back here? Yeah, okay. Yep. Come on. There she goes. Okay. That's her perch. That's where she likes to be. I have like 2 inches of my chair. So I don't think that this is going to necessarily maybe be felt or seen per se, but there's definitely some cosmic, energy that's, bringing everything together. And so this is through the lens of also, or I should say, the expression of making a wish. And what do I want to say about this? Making a wish almost feels like, to me, really being able to maybe let go of these soul memories that are maybe keeping you locked from moving forward. Okay? And that's what I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like the soul memories, you've done this before. That sounds like such a beautiful card. And it is a beautiful card. Absolutely. Even in the way that I'm seeing it. Because this to me is saying, really open yourself to letting go what's maybe stopping you. So you've done this before. It means to me there's like a cycle that we're not necessarily picking up on. So maybe making a wish, right? And through the lens of really being able to look at our growth. I think sometimes we just get so busy with what we're doing with our lives, and we don't always have the reflection to be like, oh wow, I've come so far. Or sometimes it's, I can see where I've wanted to grow, but I haven't absolutely been able to allow myself to grow. So there's kind of both ends there that I think deserves to be looked at. So by the middle of the week, we're moving into soul gifts and training. It's time to step up. So again, that kind of like brings in this, like, again, the Kali energy, where at the beginning of the week, it's really being able to recognize, okay, this pattern runs so deeply in this present life. Maybe this is a pattern that I have from a past life, right? And where am I maybe not allowing myself to grow, to see life differently? Kali is known to be the destroyer, but I don't like that, actually. After working with her more deeply, it's more about making room. She is about making room for your real accessed power. And I think that sometimes might look like things are falling apart, but they're actually not. So by the middle of the week, it's like she's saying, okay, let's, we're looking at the beginning of the week where, okay, let's look at where we've grown, maybe where we haven't. But now it's time to step up. Okay, it's time to clear the path. And we do get that through self-reflection. And also knowing that change is upon us. And I think there's like a really big thing here around what I want to say. The word accountability is coming up. And I think that came up in last week's reading, where it's like, we are moving into the self-governing human. But what does that look like? That really requires us to be freaking pros at self-reflection, and being accountable and honest. Like being able to say, oh yeah, I can see where I fucked that up. It really does. Or like, oh yeah, I can see how I keep saying I'm going to do something and I don't do it. Really being able to hold ourselves accountable. And I saw something the other day, and I really wish I could find it. Let me see if I can, because I talk a lot about responsibility, and there was something that I really enjoyed reading from a friend of mine. And she said there was like a different word. And it's really interesting because I think our words can sometimes cause reactions to how we react to something, right? So like if I say responsibility and you feel pressure from that, you're going to curl in rather than feel expansive. And there was this, I can't find it, and it's going to bother me. She was talking about responsibility and how that doesn't always sound good, right? Responsibility can sometimes be like, I don't want to take responsibility. But there's something else about responsibility. There's like a different word that we can use, and the one that feels more expansive and open. I'll have to see if I can get a hold of her. But anyway, there's really the accountability of being, responsible for our lives, and maybe step away from that word and allow that to be expansive, something that's good for you, rather than like, oh, all I do is feel pressure. This is like really the wake-up call of like, listen, you have a lot of power that you can access. Do you want it? And here are the steps necessary. And the only person that's going to get you there is you, right? This is like kind of that energy in the middle of the week. So we see this, we really see that it's time to step it up, and this is almost like, this feels like, it doesn't feel like we're supposed to become more rigid. You know what I mean? Like, I keep talking about the new paradigm and there being this flow, there's a lot of newness for us right now, and being able to really allow ourselves to be without guilt, with really letting go the pressure that we put on ourselves sometimes for the demand of things, right? Like even social media, like, oh, if I don't post, especially as a business owner, if I don't post, I'm going to be forgotten about, right? And I think there is a flow to life, and that's what I want to say. I'm going through some pretty big shifts and changes, and it's not something I'm probably going to share because it involves another person, and that's not fair for me to necessarily, air an experience as a whole rather than just mine. But the point is that I've really been going through a lot, and there's a lot right now of feeling maybe the pressure to uphold, and keep going and doing and doing and doing and doing. And it's really weird because about a week and a half ago, I said, I'm going to take a break from social media. And I must have energetically maybe known that my being was going to really need a pause, time to really reflect and time to really allow myself to be. And what's really interesting here is, I think, remembering, and I don't know why I'm sharing this right now, but I feel like it's important, is I made commitments to myself for my business this year, and that was very important to me, is like, okay, I'm doing the podcast every single week. And basically saying, okay, I'm going to take a break from social media, but I'm not going to take a break from the podcast. So it's almost like being able to tell yourself and hold yourself accountable, right? Because life happens. Life happens where we have to make pivots, and we have to sometimes detour, and we have to be able to kind of slow down so much that we need a lot of space. But where can we do those things while still being able to hold ourselves accountable, right? And be able to say, but I did commit to this, for myself. And if I don't uphold this for myself, then what am I doing? Because I think there is something in devotion, and there is something in being able to commit to something. And so there's this feeling right now of like, it's time to step up. There's also, it's time to be able to self-reflect. There's a lot kind of bubbling to the surface for many of us of like, what isn't working, and it's that bitch slap in the face. I mean, that's kind of like where I was over this last week, was like, okay, we cannot keep going in this direction. And it wasn't just my family's energies or what they were doing, it was absolutely mine. Like, I needed to self-reflect and take accountability for where I wasn't maybe showing up. And also being able to have the authenticity to say to myself, let's change that. And what's wild is feeling that in my body. Oh, I'm not liking my new routine that I've kind of got accustomed to. I don't like this and I want to change it. And then it's like things kind of come to a head. And life can sometimes just explode in our faces sometimes, where it's like, whoa, I've got nothing to give, but still being able to go, but there are certain things that I've committed myself to and I want to show up for. And I think there's just this massive change that we are going through. Again, we're in the goo phase, right? Like we are still in the goo phase. So offering this space around being in the goo phase, but what can I continually show up to do? Maybe it is literally journaling every day for yourself. Like what is something small that you can do, right? Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's holding yourself accountable every day for, that's what it is, right? It's being able to know that you're being asked to step up, and what is one thing that you can do that you can hold yourself accountable to, and also praise yourself for that, right? To be able to then reflect and be like, whoa, that was a lot of growth. Like it took me a lot. I committed myself to working out three days a week, and I know there are days that I do not want to, right? Like I'm super grumpy about it. I don't want to do it, but I do it. I might go really slow. I might not be able to get in as many reps as I thought I would. Whatever it is, I'm trying to commit myself, right? And so I think that's kind of where we're at, is like what is something that we can reflect on where we know we're not showing up the way we want to. That's the thing, is not showing up the way we want to. And really being able to see we're being asked to grow in this time and shift and change. And there's a lot on us, I think, right now to be able to fully accept, experience, embrace, embody the beingness of the human being. And that sounds almost contradictory, but it isn't, right? It isn't. Okay. So by the end of the week, we have cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. So this basically wraps up so beautifully what we just went over for the beginning of the week. And rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life, is really maybe coming to the fact of, okay, wow, these things are not working, right? And surrendering to the flow of life. I saw something the other day where it's like there are waves in life, right? And we cannot always predict the waves. You know, sometimes you're floating in the ocean and you're like, oh, there's a wave. Oh, and you can kind of just like float with it. And then sometimes those humdingers come out of nowhere and they crash right over your head and they kind of suck you under for a moment. And then you're like, oh, I've got to get to the surface. And then you continue to flow with life, right? This is really, again, being able to say, I need to stay with myself. So we've got rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life, realizing that there are things that happen through life, right? We are not the full and sole painter of our own experience. It's nuanced, right? We have a lot of, if you have a family, they are also co-creators to your painting of life, right? If you live in a community, they are creators of your community, right? You are not the sole creator. And it's kind of difficult sometimes because you're like, but I have all this power to be the manifester of my life. And yes, 100%. But we have these moments and these periods and these eras and these lives of coexisting with other energies and other people. And so life, we sometimes get those humdingers where the wave comes crashing over us. And this is really choosing to stay with yourself. I had an experience the other day that was extremely overwhelming, and I think I'm going to write about it because it felt super spiritual to me. But I chose to stay with my body. And it was the craziest experience, probably thus far, because I didn't try to get out of my body. And I chose to stay. And it was also a moment of feeling like rock bottom. So it's really, this time is like really asking us to say, what is not working right now, and choosing to take accountability for maybe why it isn't working. Why are we operating the way we are operating? And if it isn't serving us, then can we change it, right? Change. So hitting rock bottom, maybe even just realizing that change needs to happen, and kind of like hitting the bottom of like, whoa, I really thought I was okay, and maybe I'm not okay, and choosing to stay with yourself with this time period, right? Because I think sometimes when we hit rock bottom, we want to just push it away. We want to just be like, no, everything's fine, it's under control. But that's not what this week is asking for. It's asking you to stay, to be really in that goo phase. And when I say goo phase, this is like, again, that these moments where you might really experience, I don't have any of the answers and I feel really uncomfortable, and I completely have to surrender to life because I don't have ways of controlling the situation. And basically what this week is saying is, what you used to do, right? The cycle, the pattern, that's not serving you. And so really surrendering and coming back to your compass. And this is where it's going to be very interesting at the end of the week, where you hit rock bottom and maybe you're triggered to respond or react in the way that you would have. But this is saying to really, really, really check into these parts of yourself, right? Your intuition, your inner compass, and go, okay, this is the controlling part of me that wants it to go a certain way or be a certain way, but my intuition is also saying to leave it. Even though I'm uncomfortable, even though I don't have the answers, to kind of just let it be. And choosing to stay with yourself through that. And what does stay mean? Like, I think I've talked about this before in some of my Substack articles. Like, choosing to stay with yourself just means I'm going to support myself when I don't have the answers, right? So maybe nervous system practices. And I do apologize because I know I had said I'm going to create a practice for this week, for the past week, and I did not, because I had a wave that went over my head and I was taken to the bottom, and I'm finding myself to the top now. But it's choosing to stay with yourself and provide, safety or nourishment for your own being, right? Do not just push this away and say, it's fine, everything's fine. I mean, I think this is going to be, you're going to end the week with really being able to go, okay, I'm getting a lot of clarity now, and it might hurt. There might be like a lot of pain there. There might be a lot of grief or sadness. And where can we maybe not get stuck in our victimhood? And I think that is really a tricky one, right? It's hard to sometimes talk about what you're experiencing or going through or reflecting on, and not maybe get stuck in the victimhood where you want to blame everybody else. And this isn't like don't feel your feels. Of course, feel them, but choose to be choose to be self-reflecting for you, accountable for you, right? And how you want to move forward. I do see, with Kali, that there might be some breaks around relationships or friendships or business deals or, even buying or selling a home kind of stuff, like, because these things are kind of happening, or it's kind of creating more space. And that doesn't mean, again, how do I want to say this? A break from something is still creating space, right? It's moving, letting something go that maybe served its purpose for more growth and change to happen inside of you. Offer space for that to happen. But also with these experiences, relationship, business deals, partnerships, friendships, whatever, bank deals, whatever, it could also be kind of feeling this friction and choosing to kind of stay with it, even though it's very uncomfortable, and wanting to be accountable and kind of offering space for everything to kind of find its place. Okay, so again, but you're gonna have to you're gonna have to listen to your own compass. What feels right? What is my soul telling me right now? Okay, my human self is saying to react, and to do this, but maybe my soul is saying, you know what, just give it a breather. There's lots of nuances in here, of course, but this week feels again like it might be a big one in the sense of we are really moving towards that finish line, right? And crawling to the end line of like, oh my God, am I gonna make it? And like, I am gonna make it, right? Like, I am gonna make it. I am gonna make it. But like, it's really being able to be like, okay, yeah, you're the warrior, but like, you got to look in the mirror, right? You got to look in the mirror and really be accountable for getting across the finish line. So, that is where we at. That's where we are at for the week, for this coming week. And I just hope that you can feel grounded in maybe a time that feels very unsettled. Self-reflection might seem easy, but it can be really hard. It can be really hard to self-reflect on in areas where you don't want to look. And sometimes it might be easier to blame other people rather than really being able to like see yourself. And I think we're seeing right now, it's like, yeah, no, we gotta really tune in, and really love on ourselves and remember that we do have the power and the courage and the magic within us to be the amazing human being, the highest form of authenticity that we can have, right? It's like, that's all there waiting for you. It's all there. Just don't leave yourself. Don't leave yourself. It's hard right now. It feels tough right now. It might feel muddled, like there's no clarity. But remember to like make a wish for what you want. What does it look like? What are your limitations? But what do you want also? Like, what are you not able to control, but what are you able to control? It's kind of like that whole thing, like in your community, you might not be able to control the whole community, but what can you do, right? Make a wish of like what that version of you feels like. And that's such a simple practice where it's like really being able to just see and tap into, well, what is the version of myself that I want to be? What is she doing in the morning? Or what is she doing during the day? Or what is she doing? And tapping into that energy and just kind of feeling that, and choosing that, right? Oh, well, she'd go for a walk, We'll go for a walk. Choose to go for a walk. So I wish you a happy week. Let me know in the comments, like, I feel like last week was a doozy. I feel like this week might be a bit of a doozy. I also know that we were just hit on the Schumann resonance with like a massive amount of light, which can really be a lot for the body to process. So be sure to rest, nourish yourself, stay true to you. You are worthy. We are bringing in this new paradigm, and the people that we are the warriors, right? But that doesn't mean that warriors don't need rest or accountability, right? So I wish you a great week. Reflections will be down below, and until next week.